Pod SaaS, where we're putting the SaaS back in sassy. Sponsored by LeadrPro, where you can book demos with target customers on demand and fill your sales pipeline instantly.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Pod SaaS. I am your host, Chris Sheng, and today we have Anne coming to us from New Zealand. How are you doing, Anne? How's it going?
I'm doing great, thank you. Wonderful to be on your call.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Love to listen and hear more about what Fuel50 is. If you wanted to give us like a quick elevator pitch, that'd be great. And then just also let us know who makes a good customer for Fuel50.
Okay, amazing. So Fuel50 is a talent marketplace. And what we mean by talent marketplace is that we connect people to opportunities within their organization. So it's an opportunity to market your talents and be part of the talent pool within an organization. So from an employee point of view, you can create an Uber-like journey from where you are today. If you dream of becoming the CEO, we'll give you the roadmap. We'll give you every learning, a coach, mentors, projects, gigs, jobs, everything that matches onto your journey. So this opportunity marketplace is a cross between kind of Airbnb, or Uber. Where do you want to get to? Also, how do you participate in the organization's marketplace? How do you continue your learning journey? So a great customer for us is someone like the larger the organization, the bigger the problem around talent visibility in that organization. Who's got what skill, what talent? So some of our massive organizations have got over 100,000 employees and are, biotech and pharma like J&J or Abbott or fin services companies like Fidelity or Citizens. So big organizations that want to connect their employees in a self-driven, self-learning kind of way to their futures.
Interesting. That's very cool. So let me just get this clear. It's like, so you work with a company, right? And it seems like you guys work with some really large enterprise type companies, but you work with them and their employees to help their employees if they list out what their role is, to create a map of how they can ultimately achieve and get to that goal role. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all AI enabled. So once you enter the marketplace, it knows your job, it knows what skills and talents you've got. You can then engage with it and start to map out your own future. So yes, set some goals, understand all of the learning that's going to take you on that journey and be connected to that learning, or a coach or a mentor. But from the flip side, from an organization point of view, is that a manager can go and find out who on their team might be a risk of leaving, but also then see the talent pipeline across the organization as who do I want to bring into my team. So it's a real connection marketplace for organizations and their people. And it really does make a difference. It's disrupting what used to be, old school HCM and performance management processes, put people in a box. This is far more democratic. It's enabling, it's now allowing everyone to kind of participate fully in that organization's marketplace.
Got it. Very interesting. And so is it driven by, so you guys sign up in an organization and then they roll this out to their employees?
Correct. We've got an amazing skills architecture that you can kind of almost push a button and you've got, all your 100,000 roles across the organization mapped with the skills architecture.
Wow. Okay.
And then they take it to the employees, tell the story, here's the marketplace, it's open to you now. You can now see not just vacancies, but you can see career paths and journeys and coaches that are matched for you, or a mentor, or what learning you need to create your future. So very much a marketplace that connects people to what they need within that organization to create a future.
That's very cool. And another quick question here is, because sorry, I'm nerding out on the product. So, but the other question is, is this something that you guys sell into like the HR department, or is this like a different department that helps you guys, implement and then roll out?
Yes, generally the head of HR or the chief learning officer are the kind of people that will sponsor this, or the head of talent management or talent mobility across the organization. So it's those kind of folk that champion this because they want to create that talent visibility for their people. Because at the moment, it's easier for most people to find a job on LinkedIn or Indeed than it is within their own company. So that's part of what Fuel50 solves.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Awesome. Well, I would love to dig in a little bit more, but first we want to get to know you a little bit better as an entrepreneur and your journey to starting Fuel50. So We do a thing called rapid fire questions. Pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. So if you're ready to get into that, we can just jump in.
Okay, yeah, amazing.
Awesome, let's do it. First question, again, pretty easy, straightforward, is who's your favorite entrepreneur and or startup story? It could be one of the same or it could be different.
Yes. I'm a big fan of people that are disruptors, right? So, the talent marketplace is a bit of a, revolutionary approach to HR. So, my favorite entrepreneur at the moment is Elon Musk. And yeah, he puts some wild things out there, about don't show up if you're not going to say anything in the meeting, or don't bother coming to work if you're not going to come to the office. So, but he's a very, very big visionary, right? Imagine trying to take people to the moon. We just laughed about that a while back, but he's absolutely revolutionized, the way, the way the world is driven today. And I guess, I scratched my head. It's just like, why is he building a tunnel under LA? Like I couldn't understand it. And I was like, why is he buying up all this battery stuff? And it's just like, you start to get the bigger picture vision of what it is he's trying to mastermind. And so, yeah, I love people that are challenging the way we do things.
So you appreciate kind of like so do you I guess there's because a lot of facets to him, right? I mean, there's a lot of facets to a lot of these like really iconic entrepreneurs, but is the big vision that kind of like, outside the box kind of vision, but also like taking the steps to execute against it? Is that kind of what you gravitate towards?
Absolutely. It's massive vision, right? Massive vision about what might be possible. And then, building and creating and shipping and delivering, a beautiful experience, that like an Apple-like experience when you hop into your Tesla.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
Who would have thought you get a light show?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's delivering delight. And I guess, coming back to our story, we want to deliver delight when somebody opens up, to be able to see the wheels turn, and all of a sudden you can see what might be a future for you, and something you'd never quite dreamed of, but here's your best match job across this organization. It's like, wow, it's a beautiful moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also, patience and the investment of that whole process, I think is super interesting too. I don't know if you saw this article about the new Tesla Y is like the last missing component for the different series of Teslas to spell out sexy, the word sexy. So you have Tesla S, and then the Tesla 3, and the Tesla X, and then Tesla Y. And it's like, and they're like saying this is like a 10-year long commitment to fulfill this joke that he had in his own mind. It's crazy.
I love it, right? Yeah, that is that's the slow reveal, and that's how I felt with some of the pieces of the puzzle that he was building out around us.
Yeah.
So yeah, sexy. Love that.
Yeah, and the only reason why they had the Model 3 was because it was instead of Model E was because Ford had already like had the trademark on it. So, anyways,
so
fun fact. Yeah.
Love it. I'm going to use that.
Another quick question here is the idea of, do you remember what you wanted to be as a kid, like at 8, 9, 10 years old?
I mean, I did want to be an actress,
Oh, wow.
so like, kind of like being on the stage when I was a kid and organizing people, but it wasn't long until I was 14 years old, and I wanted to solve two problems. I, wasn't in a particularly privileged upbringing, so I'm on my bunk bed, and all I could think about is how do I turn the light off without getting out of bed? And obviously that problem's been solved, but it wasn't long after that I took a pencil and paper careers test, and it said I should be a funeral director. And I'm like, what? Funeral director or a career guidance counselor? But I loved the science behind it. It fascinated my brain, and I've spent my entire career trying to solve that problem. How do you create a better careers test that tells people what skills and talents they've got and how they might apply them and where they might match to opportunities? So that's been my lifelong mission since 14 years old, to try and solve. And it's amazing with AI and technology, and amazing talented team now, developers and fuelies, we've solved that problem. And it just seemed to me that we can just, you can enter a site and the wheels can turn, and all of a sudden it's matching your talents, your skills, your goals, your aspirations, your qualifications to what might be a best fit job for you. So that's been my lifelong dream.
Wow. And it all stems from this fact that you took like a personality/career test back at 14 years old that told you should be a funeral home director.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, that's not me. This is wrong.
Yeah,
This is
exactly. That's random. I could do, we've got to do better than that.
got it. That's funny. Um, so starting a business is hard. It seems like you've gone through the process of doing a few different ventures, and so obviously, I think there's a lot of times that your back's against the wall, and you're in these uncomfortable situations. Is there anything that you can recall, like the most painful experience? Again, this could be professional or it could be personal, that you kind of encountered that ended up being like a character defining moment for you, where you obviously going through it at the time was like super hard, but you can go back to it now and be like, that was like an inflection point in my life.
Yes, absolutely. So, serial entrepreneur. I was probably into, I don't know what number venture it was in my life, maybe 4 or 5, a business called Talent Technologies. And we were building psychometric assessments, right? And these psych tests were becoming so amazing that you could take 1,000 people and 997 would have a cross next to their name or a check mark, and 3 people would have a tick. And part of my kind of frustration at that time is, my God, I don't want to be playing God with people's lives. I want to be enabling. I want people to, everyone's got talent and potential, but there's something, right? But I hated the thought that people were getting a black mark against their name because of the science of this tool. But there was a moment where I lost the distributorship at that moment for what we were building. And I had to lay off we'd been really, really successful in the New Zealand market, which is pretty small back then, but, and we were New Zealand's top assessment provider, but I had to lay off, the entire team of 10 when I lost that distributorship. But if I hadn't had that moment, I would not have recreated Fuel50, which was always that frustration about, I hate the fact that people are getting a black mark against their name. That's not my purpose. I want to create a career experience where people are matched to a future. Everyone's got talent as long as you can find the right match. And so that became the genesis, for Fuel50. We were using a similar science, psychometric testing, but we reverse engineered it and empowered the employee, not HR. Took away the power from HR, put the power into the hands of employees. So that was a wonderful inflection moment, but it's still super painful, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess, like, again, going back to that and leading to our next question, which is, what motivates you in the 25th hour? Like, you're in that situation where you had to lay off, these 10 employees, and then ultimately you can still continue and persisted in that journey. What pushed you to continue to have that wherewithal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just an unrelenting. I mean, what I did is I went away. I went to a retreat for a week because I was exhausted, because the whole thing had happened, really, really quickly when we, lost the distributorship. And, through reasons beyond my control, it was, global M&A, and that we were just so irrelevant down in New Zealand. So I went to a retreat for a week, and I thought, okay, I just need to reconnect. And at the end of the week, I was like, I'm just going to give myself some time, and then I'm going to reconnect with my purpose and my personal values and what's important to me. So I took my own careers test, that had already been built, 5 years ago. It's kind of iteration number 1. I went through my own careers test, and I was just like, okay, I know what I need to do. And so, out of that, and went on a reflection journey, and came back from that trip with, I know exactly what I needed to do. And some of the people ended up carrying on that journey with me, which was wonderful. So yeah, I don't know, it's just never give up. I mean, when you're on a mission, you can't give up anyway. So to me, it was that, there probably was no choice as to what I needed to do next.
Interesting. So you just basically needed a breather, but you knew that you're going to go back into this somehow, some shape, some form.
Exactly. Connecting back with the purpose and your why and your values. Like, what is it I need to do? If I'm 75, I'm going to leave a legacy. What's it going to be? What is it that's written in my heart that I have to make a difference to? And so, yeah, carried on and ended up having success, beyond my wildest imagination. So.
That's awesome. So you ended up going and propelling into Fuel50 post this experience, but obviously still it's going to have its own set of challenges, right? So is there anything that you do day to day or maybe weekly that allows you to decompress from some of the stresses of just being at a CEO level or running a business at this level?
Yeah, I mean, good question. So I don't know. I mean, one of my, absolute essentials in my life is getting out for a run and, seeing the day break, so starting the day really well is mega important to me. So yeah, getting my even if it, I'm kind of kind on myself now. It doesn't really matter, even if it's only a 20-minute, 10-minute, as long as I'm getting out there, getting that fresh air, or sometimes walking instead of running. But yeah, seeing the ocean, seeing,
Mm.
getting that run, getting out into nature.
Yeah,
That's my absolute 101 from the holding my life together.
absolutely. Um, Another question here is, as an entrepreneur, you tend to wear a lot of different hats, right? Has there been a skill that you've picked up along the way that you have a strong emotional disposition towards, one way or another? Could be love that skill set or hate that skill set. Um, but yeah, one or the other.
I think I'm just going to come back to the values, right? So it's
Mm,
a value rather than a skill, and it's kind of a 101. And so I think one of my personal values, I've got three values as a leader, which is, um, aspirational, achieving, so that you're getting shit done, but you're also appreciative. And so I'm going to talk about, that appreciation thing. To me, um, appreciation. We've got a culture of 100 fuelies around the world that are on this mission now. And so appreciation is like deeply embedded into our culture. Every single team meeting, every person, when they have a chance to speak, has got to go, here's my shout out to one of my colleagues that made a difference to my week this week. So we've got a deep culture of appreciation across the business. And I think it's just celebrating, the difference that each and every one of us have made, because our solution is making a difference to people around the world. So kind of proud of the work that we're doing with United Nations and UNICEF and UNAIDS, right? So our solutions making a difference to people that are doing good work, but we've got to celebrate, the great work that my team are doing, because everyone sometimes has to pull, pull out a bit of extra effort to make that difference, or handle a, customer query, or, create an opportunity for us, or, think a bit harder about the code that we're building and solve problems. So yeah, deep culture of appreciation, I think. I
mm.
don't know if that's a skill, but I don't know. To me, that's really, really important, and a talent that we're embedded across the business.
I do think that's something that's learned too, right? I think it's learned through time and being in that position enough to realize it. I think that's part of it, right? I don't think it's necessarily always inherent to be a great manager, or great boss, but I think like a lot of these skill sets, it is kind of like diving into yourself to a certain degree, learning more about your strengths and your weaknesses, and then being able to bring on collectively the right types of people around you to offset those things.
And I mean, part of the Fuel50 thing is we want everyone to play to their talents, right? So, every time we have an appreciation moment, it's not like we sit around holding hands and going, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, here's what I appreciate. But it's just so embedded that we appreciate the contributions and talents of everyone. So that whole play to talent, right? Everyone's got talent. How do we, where are they contributing? Where's their wow? Where's their impact? Where's the difference that they're making? Because everyone's, yeah. So it's becoming, it's absolutely embedded into what we do every single day. Can't
Yep,
have a
absolutely.
conversation without an appreciation moment.
Fair enough. This other question is a little bit more personal, but it's around the idea of your bucket list. I don't know if you have one, but some of the founders that we've had have pretty ambitious items on their bucket list. What is one of the more ambitious items on yours?
Uh, I don't. I forgot. Yeah. What's on my bucket list? No, I've got too many things on my bucket list. I don't know. At one point I did say I want to ski in every country in the world. I just want to experience those different cultures and do
Yep.
something I love. I think my current item that is probably most outstanding on my bucket list is I want to have I'm not young now, but I want to have a go at kite surfing. So
Oh,
I actually literally want to fly. I watch them out on the beach on these wild days sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God, look at them! They're literally flying. It just looks so much fun. So yeah,
yep.
I'll do that one.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you on that one. I'm in the process of getting my skydiving certification because I want to do the squirrel suit
Oh
thing.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
no way.
that I have that same affinity towards flying. I've always had like dreams as a kid of like flying, and so I
Yeah,
don't know.
hang gliding, jumping off a cliff with a, with a hang glider. Yeah, that's pretty up there.
Yeah, yeah.
We didn't know it was
um,
possible, right? it was never possible, but now you can put on a squirrel suit. I'm not going to do that one. No. I'll leave it to you.
Fair enough. Last question here is the idea of legacy, but more importantly, what kind of impact do you want to leave on this earth before you leave it?
I want everyone to be able to be connected to a future and to have a great work or career experience. So a better career experience thanks to what we do. So if you can enjoy your work, if you can play to talents, if you can be, more empowered to be the best you that you can be. That's our deep mission. So so for me, it's got to come back to that, right? How do we help people to be the best that they can be at work? And we work towards that every single day. And I also don't want anyone to be left out of what I call the talent economy. So, kind of saddens me if I see a homeless sitting on the street, but, it brings me joy if I see that same person opening the door at Starbucks and making a difference to my day or to somebody else's day. And I'll always have a gratitude moment for that person that's making a difference. So I think everyone can contribute something. And how do we find those moments that allow people to be participating and contributing? Because I think that's really good for our souls, right? To use your talents and skills and to make a difference to others.
Absolutely.
Try to make that self-sustaining, through our marketplace.
Got it. Very cool. So that's it for the series of rapid fire questions. But there's definitely a lot of good nuggets in there that I want to extrapolate on. So I think, you mentioned this almost like identifying your passion, your mission at the age of 14. But, walk me through kind of what that first few work experiences look like, and then how did you realize from identifying this problem at 14 to making then the connecting of the dots to be like, I can actually make a difference in this, and making that almost like your lifelong career pursuit at that point. Was the first things that you did kind of like out of university all related to this path, or was there kind of different experiences you had in between before getting to it?
Yeah, because I kind of think about careers as often you zigzag, right? And you get closer and closer to your sweet spot as you continue in your career. You keep doing these corrections, a bit like a plane flying on, when it's flying on autopilot, it's not actually going straight, it's constantly attenuating. And I think that's what we do in our careers. So, I kind of started out with a psychology degree, with a dream of being able to build one of these career tests, and everything I did was for that. And it took me 3 degrees to get enough science behind me to be able to, to build a psychometric. My first job was a social worker, and that wasn't bad. I was a trainer, so I was getting in front of people, I was getting out there, I was learning a lot about the world. But I was just like, no, that's too far down, the helping spectrum. And then I did become a career guidance counsellor. But that, the way that I loved testing. I wanted people to have great data to make decisions. And back in the day, it was all about non-directional counselling. You kind of almost weren't allowed to give advice. So if somebody would come to you, I want to make a decision, I want some advice. And you'd use a whole lot of counselling and questioning techniques. Whereas I think sometimes if you gave people data and information or some help to make a great decision about where their skills might be applied, because they don't necessarily know what they don't know. So I continued on that mission but it was all, I look back on it and I think it was all quite purposeful, these constant corrections, like career guidance counsellor. And then I became, then I started building psychometric assessments. And I did that for 20 years of my career, because that's where business demand was. And so applying that science, so you look back on it and you think, okay, it was all for a reason and for a purpose. But at the time, you do what you need to, but learning along the way. So constant attenuations, I think, corrections, to get closer to what's really important.
Yep. And so when did you start your journey in entrepreneurship, like your first business that you started?
I've always been a worker, and one of the things, I don't know, I started working at 12, probably, paper runs and strawberry picking, and always had a job, right? So I think possibly starting back then is just the importance of working, and then I think one of my first businesses I had children, and then I had a girlfriend. So no, I'd already started a consulting business. So my second business was, I had a girlfriend. We'd had babies, and we then created a children's clothing company. So even in
Nice.
my spare time, right, I was having babies and studying at university. I couldn't help myself as I was working on this business and, creating a wonderful children's range of clothing. I had no skills, but I'd always loved design. I'd made dolls' clothes,
Yep.
clothing for my dolls when I was a kid, right? So I was applying a different talent, had fun with that. But yeah, I've probably not spent a minute of my life where I haven't been doing some entrepreneurial venture of some sort.
Got it. Got it. And that you think that comes from just kind of the idea of putting yourself to work at a very young age?
I think
Just so,
so.
yeah.
What did I learn when I was, used to get picked up on a truck at 14, right, to go out strawberry picking, 4 a.m. in the morning, and
Wow.
you'd pick strawberries till lunchtime in the searing heat, alongside all sorts of kind of immigrants, but I don't know, taught me the power of, applying yourself, getting out there, and watching other people working really, really hard. So yeah.
Interesting.
Was
Very
one of
interesting.
one of many, many, many part-time jobs. So
That's awesome.
I thought, yeah. So your question is, have you ever been broke? Because it's like, no, I've never been broke because I've worked since I was 12. Always had enough money to do what I needed.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I think it feels like you that was ingrained in you at a very young age. The idea of that and the productivity that can come out of what you put into it. Even just the way that you speak around, uh, the talent economy, right? And that kind of stuff where everybody can contribute. It's just making the decision to,
Yeah.
you know,
What you
and
do. Even if you're
yeah,
just bringing laughter to somebody else into somebody else's day, right? That's amazing,
absolutely.
right?
Yep.
You're the TSA guy that actually does a bit of entertaining as everyone's coming through, right? And bringing laughter and a smile. You're just like, oh, so grateful.
Yeah, I've always thought that too. I mean, I think we have momentary interactions with people, every single day, and whether you want to leave an impression or you don't want to leave an impression, that's entirely up to you. But and what that impression, does to the other person is up to you as well. You can
Yeah.
choose to be positive with it, choose to be negative with it, or not contribute at all.
Yeah,
Um,
moments, aren't they? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Another question here is you mentioned that you started off with a psychology degree, and I find that super fascinating because I do think like uh, building a business, especially at a certain level, is more about managing personalities and managing people. And the business that you actually started is, with Fuel50, seems like it's actually looking into uh, it's a blend between kind of like product and psychology, right? I mean, it's like you're measuring how people think, how people interact, and how people engage, and be able to funnel that information back to a team of decision makers where they can helping them make better decisions, helping them to better optimize workflows, just within an internal organization, right? And that visibility to the team. It is interesting to me, like, how did you end up with the psychology degree? And then secondarily, like, how much do you believe that degree, or just learning about, you said 3 different degrees. So like, but going deep into that world allowed you to, I guess not necessarily like around the core business of what you do, but more as like the owner and operator of a business and your interactions with the employees of your business. How has that changed, or how do you think like it's been affected based off of that experience?
Psychology is like the science of people. And so, I mean, really, it was, for me, my takeaway from psychology is not probably what you'd expect, which is, what's the data telling us? It's a very evidence and science-based,
Mm,
discipline. So, it's just like you're not going to do something unless there's some evidence behind, what you might apply in business. And for us, it's really about the impact that we make for our customers. So are we actually making a difference to talent retention? Are we getting the data to support the work that we're doing? So that's probably not what you were expecting, because you're expecting me to be really good at reading people, and I don't necessarily think I am. But But, when it comes to kind of applying those principles that I learned, and, I think some of the other things I learned, through these degrees in psychology, which was, what actually works for people, in terms of making a difference to their behavior at work. And so it's things like setting goals, right? If you commit to something on paper, or you commit with your manager in a conversation around, here's something that I'm, working towards and I'd like to do it, you've got a greater chance of actually doing that and then lifting the overall business performance as a result. You get one person on a mission, but you get, 100 people on a mission, or you get 1,000 people on a mission, or, 100,000 people on a mission. Well, collectively, you can make a huge difference. It's like a snowball, like an avalanche. Snowflake turns into an avalanche because you get this scale effect. And one of my clients was the first company in the world to come up with a COVID-19 test, and they were using our project marketplace, Fuel50, matching people to opportunities, but they were able to rapidly redeploy their workforce to these frontline, solving this big problem the world had. It's like, oh my God, what are we going to do about this COVID thing? And they were the first to get that out. But they were in the time leading up to that organization, all the people, again, using Fuel50, had been doing 375,000 reskilling actions in the prior 6 months. So they were ready, armed and able, right? They'd been learning, they were applying themselves, they were growing their skills and capability. The crisis hits the world and bang, not surprising that they were kind of ready for it. So to me, I think, coming back to your question, it's like, how do you create, change at scale? It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, how do we get everyone rallied around that? And I guess that's where, connecting to an organization's purpose and mission and goals, and how everyone having visibility to that through a marketplace is really, really powerful in itself also.
Yep, absolutely. That being said, do you have a technical background? I'm curious because those that don't enter entrepreneurship or like building out, especially like, talking about more sophisticated platforms and tools built on a technological infrastructure, right? Like the ones that you have the technical founders and the non-technical founders. And the non-technical founders typically have to go on this journey where ultimately they realize that anything can be built. And so it's a little bit of I think it's a little bit of a journey of like when they get to that realization. For you, when did that happen? When did you realize that, I don't know if you come from a technical background or didn't, but...
So I'm definitely in the non-technical camp, but I mean, as a psychologist, I'm a data scientist by, by journey. And I guess part of my capability was asking the questions, here's the problem we're trying to solve. What are the, how do we solve for this problem of creating this career matching science? And, started applying some things and actually outsourced the original coding, to a web design company who built out the first iteration. But then that deep partnership that we have now between, really amazing deep data scientists and developers, and having deep respect for the work that they do to actually bring, this vision and mission to life. So, and just the excitement of seeing what big data can do now with AI in a way that we want to use big data to do good, not harm, right? That's, every one of my developers is aligned around that. And a few of them used to be coders for the gaming industry in a prior life, right? We're potentially building addictions on, whereas now I'm like, oh my God, you are coding for good, right? We're actually making a difference in a purposeful way to people's lives, but deep respect for those skills and talents that those people bring, right? In terms of the way they solve problems and the way they apply themselves. So yeah, I love that marriage that we have in the business, and deep respect for my development team and the technical team and the AI engineers. It's like, wow, thinking about things that I couldn't even think about. It's like the Elon Musk kind of, oh wow, wow, it's amazing what we can do. So yeah, allowing people to kind of contribute beyond, what I might see as being the challenges that we need to solve, but allowing them to go, yeah, this is what we need to be thinking about next, and this is how we might apply. And I might ask some of the questions, how are we going to solve for that? How am I going to get people to the moon? If I use the Elon Musk thing, but, but by asking the questions, and then this team like being able to apply themselves is really powerful. So to me, that marriage between the technical and non-technical is so powerful and important.
Absolutely. How large is the team now?
Just over 100 people around the world.
Wow.
Call them fuelies, fueling futures.
Very cool. Very cool. And I'm gonna, as kind of like round out about the hour right now. Quick last question. But the idea is, and then you've been running Fuel50 for close to a decade now, right? And where do you see yourself and the company in the next 5 years? I mean, obviously, you're deeply and passionate about this mission, and I feel like there's a very large personal tie to it. So I almost feel like you're going to be running this for the rest of your life. But but correct me if I'm wrong. If you feel like there is like if you're thinking about exit, or if you're thinking about some kind of that kind of an event where I don't know, maybe it's like you're focusing more on different types of personal goals and missions. Or is this it for you, and truly trying to realize the full potential of it?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think it's like a child. You want to see this child reach its full potential, and I think we've got a mission right now to kind of own and control our own destiny. So we've got really, really clear goals around what we want to achieve, but we talk a lot about being IPO ready and list ready, and everyone's got their disciplines and cadences to make sure that we are ready to take our story to a larger market. That so we do dream of listing so that we can control and own that destiny and create a self-perpetuating future for our own business. So yeah, that's the 5-year goal. What role I have in that, who knows? It's always recognizing talent and potential in others, and who else might be the best person to lead us through that journey. But yeah, the vision is to be, the best that we can be, and to me, it's having that big goal around owning our destiny, listing. We were kind of readying ourselves to list on the Australian Stock Exchange, but we know, okay, nothing's happening in the public markets right now. Let's pause and let's dream bigger. So it's a 3 to 5 year journey, and NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, and we've got a few other exchanges that we already have as clients, like the London Stock Exchange and the Chicago Board of Exchange. They're like, oh, that would be cool.
Nice, very cool.
So, yeah, that's what we dream of. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, congratulations on all the success so far. I mean, it's well deserved. I feel like your work ethic and kind of like, I think the practicality that you bring to this space particularly is redefining an industry. And so yeah, I thank you so much for joining and be a part of this, being part of our podcast today. And I'm sure there's a lot that listeners can take away from your journey.
It's been amazing. It's been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, not often you get to reflect on some of these really big things. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity, and yeah, wish you well on your journey of educating our market and other entrepreneurs. I think we're all in it together, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Unrelenting journey to do what we need to do.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.